Is it Friday already? Holy moly. Welcome to Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine. Joining me, Bronk in England, and anyone else who wants to. It's real simple. All you have to do is go to the YouTube show and just right on the show description, click on the link, and you'll be transported directly into the studio. And if I know who in the hell you are, you'll get right through. If I don't know who you are, I'm going to have to ask you some special code questions in order to get you on the air because, you know, we have problems with trolls and people who are doing all kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want the spy in the barracks, you know, like the movie Stalag 17, where they ask him how many home runs did Babe Ruth hit in 1927, stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, and Keith, East Palestine is now being talked about, and the Israelis just keep attacking.
Exactly.
No, they're actually talking about some of the things that we were talking about earlier. It's just amazing how it's just an abortion. The whole thing, the way the EPA's handled it, the way that the railway companies handle it, the way the state of Ohio has handled it, it's terrible. That is, and I will use this little audience in the hopes that maybe somebody will catch it and put it up and somebody else will see it and pass it along because there are things that are a lot more important than sports.
Yeah, because Moohead Radio travels a lot like these toxic chemicals. It starts off in a little concentration and then spreads off down through these tributaries, and you never know where it might end up. You might end up seeing the same thing on Moohead Radio on Cleveland.com 3 days later. You know, that's how it works.
Yeah, mentioning a Jewish guy and the word concentration in the same sentence is kind of like asking a Native American if they made reservations at a restaurant. You just there's some words you just don't go there. Okay?
Yeah, or if you want a blanket, you know, and here have a blanket.
Yeah. Or I'll tell you what's politically incorrect.
What's worse?
It would be like if junior high school kids brought along a Native American child to help them TP a house.
Exactly.
See, we could go on for hours and people will hate us more and more. We're going to start out talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I know Bronk was telling me before the show began, he was unfortunately a witness to the ass raping of the Cavaliers, down 28 points in the first half, and I watched the whole game. A friend had to talk me off a ledge because it's like, for God's sakes, everybody knew this game was coming. It's the last game before the All-Star break. It's like, for God's sakes, we knew where we'd be playing, who would be playing. We're only a game behind them. How is it possible we weren't ready to play?
Oh, not at all. I mean, that was worse than some Browns games I could mention, the little bit that I saw. So, anyway.
Yeah. So, right off the bat, but they played hard in the second half, just enough to lose. Apparently. And I feel badly because, we're obviously good enough to play with these people, and we just have to get a mindset that we just can't come in and just pace ourselves. We got to be assertive from the first tap, the opening tap on, to play a team. And you can't let them just fire away. They hit, 6 of 6 on their 3-point line to start the game out because we weren't closing out.
And the other thing is they made James Harden look like Oscar Robertson. I mean, he was like throwing passes behind his back, around his head, finding these guys, shooting open threes. Let him go, this is horrific.
Yeah, I mean, if you guard him, he looks like Oscar Madison. And in fact, and when he's whining after they lose, he looks like Dolly Madison. So I'm not wasn't pleased with the game. But at any rate, the one thing that everybody is noticing is that there's one familiar face on the bench that's never getting into the game anymore, and that's Kevin Love. And of course, the word has been dropped by local press that and national press that Kevin Love has asked out of Cleveland and that he wants a buyout so that he can land on a team so that he can continue playing. It's the famous, I want my money and I want to go to a team that's a shoo-in to be deep in the playoffs like the Phoenix Suns, which I'll almost guarantee you that's where Kevin Love will wind up. because of his connection with James Jones. So not that you're hearing this here first, but I would say that's a logical landing spot for Kevin Love. But the problem with all of this is that the Cavaliers had no intention of giving him a buyout out of respect for what he'd accomplished for the organization. And by waiting until after the trade deadline, he effectively fucked the Cavaliers. Yeah. And this becomes a real hog tie situation in which, and you will never really ever, except for today maybe, hear me say that the ownership and the management of the Cleveland Cavaliers were more trustworthy than the player was.
Yeah, that is a first. I have to,
unless it's Kyrie Irving, but that's everywhere. It's and Kevin Love and all of his stories about how much he loved playing in Cleveland. He wanted to stay here. He wanted to do this. He wanted to do that. And he's very popular off the court with the team. I mean, as far as just the way he mixes and mingles with the guys on the team.
Yeah, everybody loves Love.
Yeah, but on the floor, Love is not always the greatest guy because he tends to get discouraged easily, and you just don't know really with him. Is it his back? Is it his thumb? What is it exactly that has led him to? We know it was the thumb that threw his shot off, but what is it that made things go this far down the road? Or as Terry Pluto said, oh, God, I think I'm going to come. No, what should we make of the Cavs saying goodbye to Kevin Love? And what we should make of it is that this should have been happening before the trade deadline. Yeah. So we would have gotten an expiring contract. So we would be able to do something so that our team would be better next year. Instead, Kevin Love fucked us in the ass and basically waited until after the trade deadline to make his, let me see what we got. We have another person trying to come in here.
Oh, not the reach around time in the program.
Dark Campfires, what do you want to talk about exactly? And I want specifics. You can go ahead and keep on private chatting me if you'd like. I will look at your comments because I'm that kind of cow. All we really needed to do was we would have given him his damn buyout if we would have been able to get something for him that expired value so we could upgrade our roster next year. We're really hogtied. The Cavaliers put all of their oars in the water to get Donovan Mitchell, and this is the reason why you heard Jeff Van Gundy say 9 times in about 3 minutes that the Cavaliers need a power forward who can shoot the three. It's true. Everyone knows it's true, but how are you going to do that? And the answer is not when your players do something like this. It's a real discouraging thing. And we have so many good young players, but we have no depth behind them. And the organization has acknowledged that the acquisition of Danny Green was really nothing more than getting a veteran who was somebody who could pass along mentorship toward younger players. And it looks like these players need plenty of mentorship because sometimes they come out and play great. Sometimes they don't come out and play at all. So,
Yeah.
Look at the comment. I wanted to talk about something I have, and this is not a medical program. I'm not Sanjay Gupta. If you've got herpes, I'm sorry. I can't help you there. Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't help you. So with that, we say bye-bye. All right. I hate it when they come on and want to talk about herpes. It's like, festering open wounds and shit. I don't go for that kind of thing. No can do. Yeah. So what are the Cavaliers in a position to do? God only knows. Well, it would take some kind of inordinate wizardry for the Cavaliers to be able to field a better team, or I should say a deeper team next year, predicated on the only way we can get better is if our young players just mature and get better. But the bench is a real glaring problem. And I'm glad that Ricky Rubio is back. and is playing good basketball with the second unit, but we need help, and it ain't coming from Dylan Windler. I don't know if you saw Dylan Windler. He played for the Charge for the first time. He got out of basketball court, and he took himself out after 5 minutes. Dylan Windler's never going to play. He's hurt. He's perpetually hurt. So there you go. So,
well, I mean, the only way we'll get better next year is if the league tampers on our behalf. Not that they ever do that for anybody,
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't think we're to that point yet. But it's up to the Cavalier players to all get better in the offseason, because it's not like the cavalry is not going to come over the hill. All right, let's just put it that way. But what I make of the whole Cavs saying goodbye to Kevin Love is good riddance to bad rubbish. And if a guy, I don't care how popular he is off the court, on the court, he could be a whiny little bitch. And I'm just telling you what I know. Off the court, the players love him. On the court, he can just be a whiny bitch. And the fact is, the team stayed with him. People remember what he did for the team. I don't forget what he did for the team, but by asking out, that's the end of that. Christopher Milton is asking me a question. Do I think the Cavs can win a series? Now, here's the problem looking ahead after the All-Star break. We are in a situation where where I can't believe the Nets have actually won 2 games since this whole thing went down with Kyrie Irving and all that. Be that as it may, we're 2.5 games ahead of them, and we're about 4.5 games ahead of the New York Knicks, and we're about 5.5 games ahead of the Miami Heat. But the upcoming schedule for the Cavaliers looks like a who's who of games you could very easily lose. And the New York Knicks, who are ascending right now, and they beat us. Thibodeau's got them playing Thibodeau ball, and whatever the hell that is. And I can't imagine they're going to continue, okay? But the Cavaliers had a chance to go into the break tied for the 3rd seed. The first 2 seeds are already taken. Yeah. I mean that's done, and that's over and done with. But the 3rd seed with Philadelphia, I'm not saying that they have Embiid, so they have the superstar they need. But the bottom line is that the Cavaliers are fighting to stay in the 4 hole, and the 4 hole plays the number 5 seed. And I'm hoping it's the Knicks and not the Heat. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull something up here. I know the guy who's trying to get in the studio wants to pull something out, but we're not doing that either. Let's see if I can find the NBA schedule looking ahead, because
I can do that.
I'm there's the schedule. I'll have that up here in just a split second. After the All-Star break, they're cutting me off here.
Like a week
now. Let's see.
We played Denver on the
Denver, who's the best record in the West at home.
Yeah.
All right. And a back-to-back the very next day at Atlanta. You could very easily lose both of those games. And if you don't beat Denver at home, you're really in trouble against Atlanta on tired legs just after the All-Star break.
Yeah.
That's that. And then we have a day off. But then I don't know why this is only giving me I see. I have to move it forward. What a concept, huh?
Oh, you have to scroll. You have to scroll down or something.
Yeah. The way I have it split screen on my screen. So it's
Denver, Atlanta, Toronto.
Toronto is no easy task, and that's in Cleveland.
And then away at Boston, and then Detroit, and then Boston, and then 2 games with Miami and 2 games with Chicago.
I mean,
we're fucked. And then Philadelphia.
Yeah,
We've got like a losing streak on the way here.
And at the same time, I'm looking at like the New York Knicks, and they have the first few games out of the chute, very easy games. They can immediately ascend. So the answer to your question, Christopher Milton, is it would be better if we had the fourth seed, so we'd have a home series that we would be playing in a best of 7 for the games at home. Do I think the Cavaliers could beat the New York Knicks? Yes. Do I think the Cavaliers could beat the Heat? No. I don't believe, from what I've seen of the discipline of this team and the discipline of the Miami Heat, I think the Cavaliers are a better team, honest to God. But I think that the Heat are coached very well, and they're laden with veterans who know their roles, and they grind it out, and they play a very tough, confusing defense. It's real difficult for a young team that wants to get into the flow of a game. They will muck games up defensively. So, but if it's anyone else coming up behind Miami, if Miami were to somehow collapse and somebody like, I don't know, Atlanta or something like that, that Trae Young would go to the free throw line 37 times. But again, I think the plan for the Cavaliers, if you really sneaked into their front office meetings, is to get to the playoffs, which they didn't do last year, and to get a taste of what it's like. The hope was then we would get better in the offseason, but now that is under some amount of question. So,
I'm looking at this schedule. March is absolutely horrific. There are 13 games.
Yep.
Only 5 of them are at home, and there's 2 away games against Miami, 2 away games against Charlotte at CHA, Boston away, twice against Brooklyn away.
Yeah, I mean, they do us no favors, and we get in, we're gonna have to earn it. And the way I look at it is, if you look at our record right now, what we've played, I believe, how many games have we played? 63 games?
38 and 23 is 61.
All right. So there's 21 games left.
Yeah.
And, if out of those 21 games, if we win 12 of them, all right, and go 12-9, for example,
yeah,
then the teams who are 4 games behind us, we'll use that as a figure. I mean, they would have to go, if they 16-5 to catch us. So, but the problem is we got these front-loaded tough games, so it's going to be a challenge. I would be happy to get into the playoffs and see if we could make a little noise in the first round, depending on who we played. I'd be thrilled if we get to the second round. That would just be a real bonus. But I think you got a good vision of why teams like the 76ers are one of the 3 best in the East. It's just because they show up to play. And there was no bullshit. There was, Doc Rivers had the guys ready to play from the get-go. And you cannot play 2.5 quarters of a basketball game and win against teams that good. And these teams know how to ratchet it up to the next gear, and none of our guys do. Maybe Donovan Mitchell does. Yeah, he does. But the others, And
I was sort of confident about the Cavs until you had me look at this schedule.
Well, it's
it is what it is, man.
Yeah, it is what it is. That's right. Gosh almighty. Let's see what R. Jones has to say. No love from me, a 250-pound overweight dude that yokes up threes and doesn't play D. No thanks. Bye. Yeah, well, I'll say this. Kevin Love was rejected from the World Games because he wasn't in shape. And, Kevin Love got into really good shape last season. And, but this has been an ongoing thing. The back starts cropping up, and he also notoriously does not return from injuries very quickly. And I don't want to say anything bad, but there are some guys who are champing at the bit to get it back in there. And there are other guys who are woe is me kind of guys. He's kind of a woe is me kind of guy. So,
well, you know yourself. I mean, rehab is fucking sucks, man. You have to, it's not enjoyable because you're in pain the whole time. I mean,
Double P, that'd be great. Kevin Love to the Lakers. Let him go to the Lakers. Let him go there. That's fine. But I think he's going to end up in Phoenix, really, because these guys will always pick the obvious deep route into the playoffs. And what he's going to become is the towel waver on the bench. And it's fine. Yeah. If that's what it's all about, that's what it's all about. But that's just playing for a paycheck. That's just, to me, horse shit. And
yeah, I'd be a towel waver for a few million. I could do that. But hey, hell.
And R. Jones is pointing out that the roster on the Heat is no great thing. The whole Duncan Robinson thing went bye-bye. He was a great three-point shooter a year ago, and he just lost it this year. And, it's not that they have a deep team, but I think they will get just tired out by playing guys too many minutes. But they do have guys who have been there and done that. And nothing replaces experience. And Amsterdam says he wishes Mitchell would rest for the All-Star game. Yeah, me too. But you're never going to talk somebody into that. That's just not going to happen. There's lots of things I wish for. And Radu saying that he's heard in his readings love to Portland or to the Warriors. Portland is to be very honest with you, a shit fuck organization. If you see what's going on as far as how they handle injury situations and how the 3-team deal that they pulled, the 4-player deal, that was and how they who is the guy who had an abdominal muscle issue, Gary Payton Jr., and they misrepresented the injury. The trade went through anyway, but a real mess. Portland is one of the most poorly run teams in the league. So, yeah, he can go there. Now, I think just the opposite, R. Jones, really. I think Donovan Mitchell has already proven he can throw in 50 points in playoff games. He knows what the playoffs is all about. And I think he's a tough guy. The thing is with Donovan Mitchell and what happened with Utah is when you have a guy like Rudy Gobert and you're like teamed up and you're one of the best pick and roll, go to the hoop kind of duos in the league, but Rudy Gobert never learned to do anything except pick and roll to the basket. He never taught himself how to shoot a basketball. And people are like, why did the Timberwolves spend so much money on Rudy Gobert? And the answer is because they're stupid. I mean, he became disenfranchised. I mean, Mitchell in Utah, because it just wasn't going anywhere. And I think that he's thrilled to be in Cleveland. And, through his free throws is just a visualization thing that players do. And it's all part of, brain entrainment. And a lot of athletes do different things and golfers do different things when they're on the green putting. And that's what he does, his routine at the free throw line. I think he's a great player, and I think it was a great deal for the Cavaliers. There was no other way you were going to get an actual, true, honest to God. I better have Bronk back in here. You got cut off, didn't you?
Yeah, cat problems here. You hear my cat in the background.
Oh, wait a minute. The little Timmy Bartholow. Oh, my God. What would little Kevin Love, Kevin Love.
Oh, cats. Oh, never mind.
Down goes Frazier. Okay. Something like something crashed in the background there.
Yeah, cat's doing zoomies.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Jones, how you doing? You know, my dad and I were talking about love. And I was talking about how why he and my mommy choose to make love at like 5:30 when I can actually hear them and watch them. I don't know. Oh, not that kind of love? I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question. Oh, Kevin Love. He's old. By my standards, everybody's old. But I look at him specifically and I say, Kevin Love's a guy who sits on the bench and he just makes funny faces, jumps up and down, and cheers other people on. And when he goes out on the floor, he goes, oh my God, my back hurts. Oh my God, my thumb hurts. Oh my God, I would love to see Kevin Love in a dental chair. Oh my God, not the drill.
All right.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I know. And people ask for
the palate after that.
Yeah, I know. It's hell on my throat too.
Yeah.
Oh, he wants more. He wants Drew Brennan. No, Bruce.
You can't do them back to back.
No, I can't do them back to back.
I could go like this.
I love you, Teddy. I could do that, I suppose, but that would really destroy my throat.
Yeah,
but,
it would.
Yeah, the only impression I really do of Bruce Drennan, and you have to be old like me, is remember when he was part of a broadcast team for the Cleveland Indians when the Indians games were shown on WUAB TV 43. And it was Bruce Drennan, a young Bruce Drennan in his 20s, early 20s, and because they didn't want to pay anybody on WUAB. And they got Joe Tate. I don't know how they talked Joe Tate into doing Indians games, but it just wasn't his thing. And he was really pretty disinterested. And Bruce was over eager. I mean, as you would be if you were in your early 20s, you know? I mean, and you're there with Joe Tate, who's a legendary play-by-play basketball guy. And he would be like all excited. He'd be going, hey, look what's going on out there, Joe. There are ducks on the pond. Ducks on the pond, Joe. Joe? Joe. Over here, Joe. Why are you looking the other way? Joe, it's me. You know, I mean, you would get these gaps of silence. And you could tell what was going through Joe Tate's mind was, why am I here? Why am I here with this young guy? You know what? Good night, everybody. I don't know. Enough of that.
So what else is going on in the world? Because I've kind of lost track. I mean,
I love this. Adam Silver says the NBA disciplines referees for missed calls. Now look what you've done to me, R. Jones. I got to take a sip of water because my throat.
Disciplines is that bondage or something?
Yeah, B&D. It's terrible, you know. I do Bruce Drennan and little Timmy Bartholow back to back, and I feel like Linda Lovelace. Jesus Christ, give me a swig of water. I've never seen any discipline dished out to any official. They make the most horrific calls, and Adam Silver has to stand up there and tell everybody that, we're doing what we can to get, and it's not like when they make bad calls, we punish these guys. We make money from the gambling and we give them a little slap on the wrist. That's like, the people saying, yeah, you were really cracking down on that inside trading. It's like, yeah, right.
I love it when they do technicals, when some players like clapping or even being slightly sarcastic, but it's always at a crucial point in the game, that can tip the game one way or the other away from the spread. Yeah.
There was a referee back in the golden days of basketball. His last, Joey Crawford. You remember?
Oh, yeah.
Joey Crawford was the biggest dick of all the officials, right?
He could not have been doing it legal. He could not.
No. I watched a video on YouTube just last night because the title of it was like so Joey Crawford-esque. It's like Joey Crawford ejects Tim Duncan, of all people, Tim Duncan for laughing. I'm going,
Yeah.
wait, there's got to be something wrong. Well, he called a foul on the wrong guy. All right. And he called the foul, and Duncan wasn't even on the play. And he just kind of cocked his head and just started chuckling, and he got teed up.
Yeah.
So they took him to the bench. The coach took Duncan to the bench and was arguing. Pop was saying this is horse shit and all that. And Joey Crawford with his little red face and all. Then he was joking, Tim Duncan. It was later in the game. And he was joking with the guys on his team on the bench. And Crawford looks over and ejects him because he was laughing. That was Joey Crawford, and nobody ever made him apologize.
That's so arbitrary, That's about like the NFL, the holding penalty in the Super Bowl. Everything is arbitrary, depending on what mood they're in, and you don't know their real motivations. You can guess at them, but you don't really know.
This has got to be one of the more unique comments on the program. I have a rooster for sale.
That's got to be dog whistling of some kind.
Yeah. This ought to be interesting, folks. So yeah, we'll stay tuned, and he'll do something that is, and I'm sure that it will have the word cock in it. These people, real brilliant punchline people. So at any rate, the Browns do come into the conversation today.
Really?
Because players are talking about what a great move it is to have Jim Schwartz, not Browns players, but players who played for Jim Schwartz, how good a job he does, and how the really solid players are really going to want to play hard for him. Let's pray.
Well, do we have any?
Let's pray about that. But
Greedy Williams, come on. Grant Delpit, John Johnson. Let's name all the really solid players we have.
The trade was held up, but it's going through, Radu. The Gary Payton thing, it's going through. But the Jailblazers, thank you, Daktar, are not going to get away with it. They're going to end up they're going to take picks from the Blazers. You mark my words on that. Because they did what they could never, what they should never have been able to do. Yeah, Double P, before I get into the whole Browns thing, I saw,
Is he really?
Eric Bieniemy is going to the Washington Commanders, and I don't understand. Maybe now he just thinks that it's the bad vibes are in Kansas City, that he can't get a head coaching job, and all he has to do is check out his complexion in the mirror and find out why he can't get a head coaching job in the NFL. But what a bizarre story. The guy makes the rounds. They give him the token interview, and they never give him a job. And so now I don't know why he's done everything he can in Kansas City, and now this is the end of it, because he's going to Daniel Snyder's team, and there is nothing as an offensive coordinator that he is, if by somehow he can, hey, I can pull a rabbit out of a hat, Rocky.
Again?
Yeah. You got to get, again. Yeah. So if he can do that, then maybe he'd be able to get a look-see as a head coach. But first, they would send him to South Africa.
Okay, can I make a prediction here?
Yeah, please.
I reckon there'll be a woman head coach before Eric Bieniemy gets to be a head coach.
Yeah, it's not such a good thing. And, but it's why he's going to Washington. I mean, he's got to be at the point where people are saying, well, anybody could do it in Kansas City because Andy Reid's the one who's doing all the heavy lifting. But gosh, if he could go to Washington of all places and get that done, This is what you're forced to do. You're forced into Hail Mary passes if you're black and you're trying to get a head coaching job.
Yeah.
Other guys can just diddle around and get head coaching jobs. They can fail, and within 2 years, the white guys get another crack at it. But it's pretty bad. Everybody is saying the former players, guys like Brandon Graham, who actually had his best year playing for Jim Schwartz with 11 sacks in a year, and he's a 13-year veteran. They were asking a lot of players like Graham, who's now 34 years old, what it was like. And basically the word is that he holds people accountable.
Okay.
The thing that's really
That's
good about
unusual here in Cleveland, isn't it?
well, he was a yeller and screamer back when he started out, but they say that he's gotten a little bit more mature as he's gone on, and he can a little honey with a lot of vinegar. But he gets results from people who buy in, and he's dedicated. I would say that it's a lot like Marty Schottenheimer,
Okay.
right? A guy who's just you just don't want. He's a disciplinarian. You don't want to fuck with a guy like that. And if you buy into the whole thing of wearing ties on the road and all that, the fact is that, Schottenheimer made the Browns a better team because they play together and they play harder. That's what the Browns need. But the other thing the Browns need, of course, are the defensive line. We know about that.
Yeah.
But I think, again, the real question is, how hard were the Browns defensive linemen really trying last year? And this is a non-blitzing defense, folks. What you're not going to be seeing, the Rex Ryan, all hands on board, let's blitz everybody when it makes no sense to do so kind of defense. What you're going to get is a wide nine, and you're going to get, the opportunity for linebackers. And this is where Koromoa could become a factor, getting behind the line of scrimmage to stop running plays. Up to this point, we're just depending on our front four to stop the run, and we saw that it doesn't work
At all.
This defense is designed, and it's really not designed to sack the quarterback an inordinate number of times. I think what the wide nine will do is give Myles Garrett the opportunity to rush the quarterback in a one-on-one situation. It will put him out on an island, in essence, against defenders that will give him an advantage. And that's why Garrett's going to like playing for him. But the linebackers suddenly come into sharp focus in this wide nine because they're going to be the gap shooters, not in a blitzing sense, but in stopping the running game.
Okay.
When you want to have more men than them at the line of scrimmage, you got to have guys who are quicker linebackers. And so what we're looking at, a guy like Koromoa, who we might have said, well, he's neither fish nor fowl. Is he a safety or is he a linebacker? He's going to fit into this scheme real well because he's really good at getting into the backfield. So then if Anthony Walker comes back healthy, he's a guy who will also enjoy playing in this scheme, even though he's a little bit on in years. We could see improvement in linebackers where Taki's not going to be ready to play, but there will be others and opportunities for people to look better than they did because they will have a definitive role.
Well, the thing is, we must have let every single team use their checkdowns and not be all over them. That's how we got killed in games and lost games because maybe some of their wide receivers would be covered in a zone, but they always had a completion up their sleeve, and particularly on third down. So we got to stop tight ends and running backs coming out and catching the ball and all that good shit. We haven't done that in years.
Poor Bruce. They moved him Sunday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Oh,
Yeah. Welcome to gospel programming. Just a closer walk with thee.
yeah.
I don't know. That's how.
That should be Terry Pluto's slot, shouldn't it?
Yeah. I'll tell you honestly, that's getting buried. That's getting buried in the lineup. I mean, ain't nobody listening to the radio Sunday 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. That I can tell you. That's too bad. We know what it means in the radio biz. Bruce knows all too well what it means. But, you know, if he wants to continue doing it for the fun of it, what the hell? I'm doing this for the fun of it. But the pay isn't going to be the thing, you know? Just like for me, this is just, I just enjoy doing this. Radio guys like to do radio, you know? And this show is, you know, it's like, this is not video driven, as you can see. This is why the show is called Moohead Radio. This is a radio program, in essence, that happens to utilize a webcam. That's all that is.
Well, he did used to have a green screen and shit like that back in the day. You know, but that was,
that was
I 10
tried
years ago now.
Yeah, I tried playing with that kind of shit and all, and I do have lighting here. I still have, good lighting, and if I wanted to do that again, but it was like I just want to focus on the stories and focus on what we're talking about, and this is not a glitzy show. I'll leave that in the hands of younger and far more capable broadcasters than I. I'm not a video guy. It killed the radio star,
Yeah, it did. Sad. That was 40 years ago. Just to make
God,
it
I mean,
old.
all these comments, I'm so far behind.
Oh, there's nothing there worth reading.
Yeah. Somebody talking about Ron Jeremy's wide nine. That's just, I can see, I respect Bruce Drennan. I really do, because he's a radio guy, and it's just like, Hammy, who calls the Indians games. I mean, I met him, great guy. I really respect these guys because they're players. They're guys who've been there and done that. And Michael Regai was another guy who I had here on the program a couple of times. And he and I got along really well because they're all radio guys. We all have stories that we kind of can trade back and forth. Some of them are a little bit bawdy. So, I'm not saying that Michael Regai ever told me any bawdy things, because he loved baseball. Boy, did Michael Regai got the whole 3-3-0 long distance, threes for LeBron, and he was calling the Cavaliers for LeBron's time in Cleveland, and got replaced. But he loved baseball first and foremost. That's what Michael Regai loved. And he was with the Orioles for so many years. He loved doing Oriole broadcasts. So, this really pisses me off, the whole subscription-based thing. I mean, give me a break. Why would somebody pay to watch this? I can't get people to watch this, for free. Well, is... Yeah. Yeah,
Do Howard Cosell answering that comment. Why would you pay to watch me?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. We'll do that. It's like, maybe I would be prescription based because you'd have to take some kind of painkiller in order to listen to me. Yeah. Or every time I start explaining about the subscription based thing, I start thinking of Gilbert Gottfried, God rest his soul. I'm not going to do the voice because that will just totally destroy
kill your throat.
God. All right. So, but there's a bunch of players who were talking about how great it was playing. Fletcher Cox was another one.
He's still alive.
Yeah.
All these guys have CTE, so their testimony is kind of like suspect.
Javon Hargrave was another one. These guys enjoyed playing for him, not because it was a fun fest, but because it was serious football,
Yeah,
and they
professional.
saw results, and they were able to grasp the concept and play hard.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, you need people to buy in, and we've not seen any buying in.
no, not not from the defense. Oh God, what else? I love these articles. What is Njoku going to have to do in his next year with the Browns? And
Ugh.
I want to point something out. We're not going to be able to get any great wide receivers, but we have a different quarterback playing, and I'm not going to sit here and rip Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield was a guy who would go back to throw, and you'd roll him out wide, all right, and get him out of the pocket because he's a shorter guy, and and he would wind up and fire the ball down the field. He threw for 3,800 yards that way, playing for Drew Petzing, who's now Petzing is going away. He's not going to be our passing game coordinator anymore. He's going to be going to the Cardinals. But Baker Mayfield threw for 3,800 yards for Drew Petzing. But the problem there was that, that was the Freddie Kitchens year, and
Yeah.
there were a lot more interceptions and mistakes being made as well. The different quarterback that we have will prolong plays much longer than Baker. I mean, if Baker had to be in the pocket, he didn't move and wiggle and get around the pocket. And if he took a sack just getting buried and corkscrewed into the ground.
He got killed when he got tackled. Even when he'd slide, he get killed.
Yeah.
He got hurt a lot.
Deshaun Watson also takes sacks. All right. Be aware of this.
He does, yeah.
But he also makes big plays from out of the pocket. But none of it's going to happen until we get wide receivers who are on the same page as the quarterback and will run back and actually help the quarterback and give him a place to throw the ball to. Because the wide receivers that we have, they just run and stop their patterns. I don't understand it. And that goes for Njoku at the tight end position. It goes for all of them. When was the last time you actually saw at a scramble mode a Cleveland Browns quarterback find a guy 10 yards behind the defense like was happening to us all the fucking time?
Yeah.
And I can't remember it.
Never.
So, what you need are wide receivers who are wise, smart, clever, more speed, and are able to get behind people, but they got to work with the quarterback. They got to be able to be on the same page. It never worked with Baker Mayfield, and it didn't work with Jacoby Brissett either, because if there was nothing, it was like, Stefanski, throw it away, just throw it away. And that was the best we could do. Deshaun Watson isn't a throw it away kind of guy. He's a guy who's going to try to make something happen, and it takes two on the same page to get something to happen. So, I'm tired of talking about the wide receivers. We need people who are professionals.
Well, I mean, you must see this because I see this. What about all these articles about Brandon Cooks coming to Cleveland that we've seen for the past 2 years now? It's never happened, has it?
I never heard that the Browns were even interested in him. So
it seems
that
to be like a media false story that keeps popping up.
It's guilt by association. It's like, he used to play with, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's that. Giannis Antetokounmpo, he sprained a wrist. They're saying, it's not serious, but he may even try to play in the All-Star game. See what I mean?
Yeah.
And the way the world turns, Derek Carr will be visiting with the Jets. Now, they didn't say that he was going to interview with the Jets. He's visiting. It's like Statue of Liberty,
Freedom Tower.
Yeah, he's going to hit all the sites.
Chrysler Building, Momo.
Yeah, why would you want to go there? Why? I mean,
I hear New Jersey's lovely in the winter. But anyway.
And I will finish up the program with, I was watching Tiger Woods. He was playing in the Genesis Invitational, and honestly, he ended up 1 over par, and he's right on the edge. He may not make the cut. That may have been determined already by now. He just flat out in the last 4 holes, just petered out, and it's a shame because the leg problems that he has, it's really an ankle problem at this point. It really, the back-to-back when he played afternoon golf and had to start his round at 7:45 in the morning the next day, he's just not physically up to it. But
how old is he, man? He's not
47. He's 47 now. God. A year older than Nicklaus was when he won the Memorial. So, and look, it wasn't that Tiger was terrible. I watched his round, but, it was obvious that by the end of the second round, his quality of play dropped. He bogeyed 3 of the last 4 holes. But that's not what's being talked about. What's being talked about was a moment in the where he was teeing off, and it was very, very strange. He pulled a prank on the golf course. Justin Thomas is his friend, okay? And they were playing on the 9th hole at Riviera, the country club, and when they both teed off, because they were playing in the same pairing, there were 3 of them. Rory McIlroy was also playing with them. Tiger Woods' tee shot went 20 yards further than Justin Thomas's drive. And he went up to Justin Thomas and handed him something, and they both started laughing incredibly hard. And whatever it was that that Tiger gave him, Justin Thomas just dropped it on the ground. It was a tampon, which I think it's fucking hilarious. I'm sorry. I think that it's like Tiger Woods, car wrecks and drug use and God knows what else. Oh my. I just outdrove you by 20 yards. You win the tampon award. And Justin Thomas thought it was hilarious, but obviously, once again, there are going to be people who, it's sexist, it's this, it's that. It's like, get over it. My God. Can't 2 friends just have a little laugh?
Wow.
It wasn't designed for you. The fact that anywhere Tiger goes, he's going to be filmed, photographed, or whatever. But it was just him and his friend. Why can't you just take it for what it is? I don't know. I just don't understand it. But at any rate, I don't know if Tiger is officially out of this at this point. They're saying he could miss the cut. Let's see. He carded a 3 over 74 in the second round. He's going to be either just on or outside the cut line. The top 65 in ties will advance to play the final 2 rounds. And, it would be nice if Tiger got to play a little more golf. But the fact is, rounds 3 and 4 can't get any easier for him. That's for sure.
Wow.
Yeah. So, at any rate, that's what I got for y'all today. And Bronk, I appreciate you coming in and doing the voodoo that you do and helping me out. That's very nice of you. And everybody, thanks for tuning in. I'll be back again on Monday, and we'll be talking about, I don't know what, because there's not going to be any basketball until after
there's no basketball. Football was dead months ago. I don't know what to talk about.
Yeah, so I guess our first game
maybe pitchers and catchers probably report,
Yeah, Thursday, February 23rd, Denver at Cleveland. So, we've got 6 days before we see the Cavaliers on the court again. But that means on Friday, I'll be able to talk about the Denver game, which is cool.
Who watches the All-Star game anyway? Does anybody actually watch these All-Star games?
Like the Pro Bowl, flag football. No, I mean, to me, it's just an accident waiting to happen. I think it's a bad idea. These guys play too much as it is. Season's too long. Pro season's too deep, and there's too little rest between seasons. I mean, it's too much.
Yeah, every single American-centric sport, the season is way too long. Every single one of them.
And the other thing you look at is, if you want Zion Williamson to play, you got to play fewer games because he can't hold up. The bodies of these players can't hold up. And what we're seeing is NBA teams trying to get around it by falsifying injury reports and just saying they're resting 4 of their starters and claiming they have soreness in their ankle, when the fact is they're just fucking resting them. Yeah. That's what's happening. So I don't know. I'm one of these guys who, give me a nice 6 to 8 ounce steak that is really good.
Yeah.
As opposed to a 16 ounce steak that ain't for shit.
Yeah. That's got marks from where the jockey was hitting it. Yeah.
Yeah. But money is money, and it's a big money machine, and that's what rules the roost. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning into this edition of Moohead Radio. Be back again on Monday. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.